Okay, good morning or afternoon. It's October 11th. This is the Advisory Committee of Sustainability, a regular meeting. We are waiting for another member. Aha,
There's Amanda.
like magic,
Yeah.
we should be having 4 members of the committee, which would allow us to have a quorum. And hi, Amanda. Welcome, Amanda.
Amanda, you're muted.
You're on mute.
You're muted, right?
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Amanda. Well, welcome. You are our 4th committee member, which gives us a quorum with our support from Tony from the town. So we are going to get right into the meeting, and we know that Mohan has to leave quickly, so we are going to go right to EV Fleets. But before that, I just sent the August minutes, and I'm not sure if Carolyn, you saw them. We need at least Amanda, me, and you, and Cliff were there to vote on them. If you haven't looked at them, we'll do that at the very end. How's that? If you have a chance
I looked
to look
at
at
it, right?
them. Okay, but Amanda may not have. Okay, so Mohan, I'm going to turn this part of the meeting over to you because the work that you did and put together the little presentation, I don't know whether you want to share your screen or just talk through the document, the 3 pages you sent to us, but I think that's great document to begin to take forward to people in town and maybe use that for a model for other things. And after you give your presentation, I have a couple of updates of people that I spoke to yesterday with Sustainable Fairfield County. They're very interested to talk to you.
Okay, very good. So let's see if I can share my screen. For some reason, it's not allowing me to share my screen.
Allow you to. The share screen would allow me to share my screen.
Yeah, I think you have to allow it somehow, but I don't remember how. I think it's in.
Yeah, there's a little adjustment there where you can allow other people to share the screen.
Also share tab audio. No, that's not it.
Do you see the little share icon on the bottom?
Yes, it says share my screen. When I open it, share the screen.
Mohan, do you see it on the bottom of yours? If you hit share screen.
Yeah, I can share my screen. Let me see. It's I think I'm having trouble with this thing.
You see there's it says mic, camera, share, and leave. If you hit the share screen and share, it should allow you to share your screen that way.
Always GoTo will be able to record the contest until it is quit. You can choose to go to. I think
you have to have the document up in order for it to pop up and be accessed.
Is it? Okay, let me try. Well, I have the document up here, but it's giving me something else.
I can do it right there. I think that's me.
Maybe it's easier if Kathy does it.
You see it on the screen now? Can you?
No.
I think we lost Mohan. I'm sure he'll be back.
Oh, wait, something's happening.
There it is.
No,
that's not it.
That's not it, right?
Trying to scare. I have Mohan's thing up here, and I'm not.
Okay, so I'm back now. I'm back here. I think I can share my screen now. Just let me know when you can see it.
There you
go. I had to quit. For some reason, it asked me to quit and come back. So.
Okay.
Can you guys see my
screen?
There it is.
Yes, yes. Now we can.
Okay. So since I had sent out the first draft, since then I had some feedback from Cliff and then Tony and I met yesterday. we wanted to put some final details here. So let me just quickly walk you through them. So there are two distinct themes. If you look at this slide, what we are really talking about is two distinct themes. One is around, sorry. Okay, so this is messing me up. Sorry, can't. Okay, the first thing is really around replacing the retired vehicles with comparable EV model. When we look at the EV fleet for the town, there is a big opportunity for various departments to start thinking about how do we replace the fossil fuel based vehicles in the future, right? So we do have the inventory, meaning we know there's a lot big opportunity. Here's the recommendation we're making. One of the big recommendation we are trying to make really is that beginning 2024 fiscal year, all of the Darien departments, town departments, should really make a commitment to purchase only electric vehicles, unless there is an extenuating circumstance where they can't do it. For example, if there is a earth moving thing or whatever, they can't, huge trucks, they need to collect garbage, we can't do, etc. Except in those cases, what I'm recommending to this committee is we should make the recommendation that every department should really strive to buy electric vehicles. And then starting next year, because I know that Tony had told me that the budgeting season's here, everybody's starting to budget the funds. The recommendation here is start budgeting now. So include electric vehicles so that can be, they can start to initiate that piece of work. The third piece really is, sorry, go on.
No, I just wanted to make a clarification. Are we talking about fiscal year 2024 or 2025? Because the fiscal year 2024 budget was already approved by the RTM in May.
Yes.
But when would that be effective?
So our upcoming budget season is for fiscal 25.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sort of half 24, 25, right? It ends because
yeah. But we call it 25.
24.
Yeah.
So
We
it's
say
24, 25.
Yeah, it's July. It starts in July of 2024,
Yeah.
ends in June 2025.
So the fiscal year 2025 budget, the talks with the department heads and so forth will start, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but like next month, right?
Yeah.
They start in like next month and they go through January, February, and then the budget will be approved by the RTM in May of 2024.
I thought it was earlier, but I thought it was earlier, but you could be totally right. I thought it was more like March, but
the budget, it's approved in the RTM May meeting.
Hey, okay.
But before
it goes through a couple months of review.
Okay,
yeah, it's going to the finance committee.
A couple months. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes to the selectmen, the finance committee, the Board of Ed budget goes through them. So yes, the public hearings and the discussions are January through March, and then it's not until June.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my mistake on that. So it doesn't change much. Just a few months over there. So. Okay.
So that's fine because we know that I don't think there are, we did talk about it, but I did ask Tony if there are funds available within various departments. Now we can start as of this year. And Tony said, no, a lot of those funds are locked in. They will be spent and there is no funds simply sitting there idle. So that means that opportunity doesn't exist unless somebody comes and tells me they have money, we can do something. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have this partnership with Tony and the Public Works Department, what we wanted to do is at least start with the Land Use Department, which is building, planning, and zoning, and then expand to other departments. What this really means is really we have this conversation already with Tony, and now we go to the building and planning as the first thing, and then we start to socialize this with Board of Education and also the police department. Start to have those conversations so that they can make it part of their priority for next year's budgeting and for the future. And then certainly the last final point, make use of government subsidies where available. So certainly we will do that. That's really all about the electric vehicles. Is there anything else we want to add here?
Can you clarify for me, is this something you're trying to get in the budgets for when they're buying new vehicles, or is this something you're trying to get them to buy new vehicles earlier and make them fit under this?
I would say both if they have funds. End of the day, I thought they need to have budget to buy anything. I don't think they can simply go and buy. The budget needs to be approved. So that means it's really a part of the budget process. If you get it budgeted, then it's easier to execute.
But if Park and Rec is buying new vehicles in 25, they don't have a line item for that, then it's really about that being a line item next time they're buying vehicles.
I think what we're trying to do is, if you're going to replace a vehicle, then replace it with electric. But we're not trying to push you to replace something. Like, for instance, if my car is going to last 8 years and it's now 4 years old, we're going to go electric after the 8 years. We're not going to push that schedule ahead of time to go electric. So it's.
Thank you. That's my question.
Yeah.
It is, and I 100% agree with that, but one could possibly get a new one, determine the value, and determine to make a change earlier if the cost makes sense, although that isn't by any means what this committee is trying to open the conversation to exploring a new option, right? We're not saying replace what you've got.
Right.
Well, there is a point in time. Well, okay, for these vehicles, there's some research, right? There comes a point in time where the existing vehicles are no longer worthwhile, right? So either from maintenance perspective or even from adding it to the landfill. For example, here's a problem I tell people. I have this vehicle I bought in 2006. Now, this is a gas guzzler too. I know 100%. It gives me 13 miles an hour. My family always tells me you are an idiot because you are a sustainability person. How can you just have this vehicle? It guzzles gas. But there is a double-edged sword here, right? This vehicle is still useful, and I only use for local commute, right? So go to office, come back, I'm not producing a lot of emission. But if I were to go sell this vehicle, somebody will use it for much more, and also I will be contributing additional emission because I just went ahead and manufactured a new car. So we got to be really little bit, clear about it, what we are trying to achieve. Otherwise, if we want to replace everything now, we are adding actually more to emission than less to emission. So it's a double-edged sword, bit of it.
Gotcha.
That's a great analogy. Never thought of it.
Yes.
Can I ask a quick question, Mohan? You mentioned make use of government subsidies. Can you just talk a little bit about what subsidies are available, how easy they are to get, and like who's looking for them?
So
what the process is?
So there are, well, again, this depends on whether we qualify. Some we qualify, some we don't qualify. Tony, do you have a view on vehicles purchase itself other than the standard 7,500 everybody gets?
No. So I've looked a lot into vehicles, and there's incentives, government incentives for individuals. And the last year, some point, they said we're going to also make this available for municipalities, but it hasn't happened yet. It was called the Cheaper Program, CHEAPR, but it's still not available. So the subsidies that are available to us right now are just through Eversource at this moment. If that changes and this Cheaper Program becomes available to municipalities like they say it's going to, we will jump on that.
Is that a federal or state program, Tony?
I think it's federal. And the federal brings money down to the states and then they distribute it. But I think it initiates as a federal program.
What I'm going to suggest because I took a note of that, is that maybe Mohan and Tony, one of your Wednesday when you connect, is we get Daphne Dixon, who stays very updated on the details of those, to give her 2 or 3 questions and just talk them through. They've just three interns or assistants and herself, and they're spending all their time looking at where the federal money and state money is for cars, infrastructure, fleets, solar panels on schools, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's probably some point in time just to connect you guys to see if she has any new information.
Yeah.
So
actually, it's Connecticut. The C in cheaper stands for is the Connecticut Hydrogen and Electric Automobile purchase rebate
Yeah.
program.
Okay,
So,
cheaper. Okay, uh-huh.
So Kathy, sorry, I kind of muffled again on when you were talking about somebody. Who did you say we
Okay.
should talk?
I will connect later on, but the group Live Green, this is through which we
Okay.
participate
That's
with,
fine.
that is connected to all of the different programs and government agencies and deep, and so she's someone that I sit in the calls, but you might have a more productive question for her than I can ask.
I
So I'll
think I
make that
spoke to
connection.
one of them. I think you had given me the contact. I did speak, but I did not see. Yeah, I think I spoke to her. We talked at least for 30 minutes a while ago.
Okay.
But again, we'll go back
All
and
right.
check again. But
Yep.
yeah, fine. Anyway, so so knowing that subsidies are not really the key drivers, I don't want that to become a distraction. We will take it off the EV models and then we'll move it under the infrastructure because we know that there are subsidies for infrastructure available. We can use it.
Yep.
Right. And then for charging infrastructure, we have been working with on few angles. We have spoken to some of the installation companies, the facilitation companies. Thanks, Tony, for bringing them to the table. We have also spoken to New Canaan. Now I think we have a good view of what it's going to take. So there are some variabilities, right? So what we know is to install a charging station, the cost can go anywhere from 7,000 to 20,000 out of pocket, excluding subsidies. The reason is because we will need to pay for any of the work we need to do on the ground, what we call the make ready thing, right? So we got to make sure the line can go there. If we need to change, if we need to dig up, whatever. So with that in mind, we can't really say there's going to be this exact amount we can come up with precision where we will need this to install. So what we are recommending is for next year to budget $100,000 and with the target to install at least 4 to 6 charging stations, low end 4, high end 6, depending on how much it's going to cost for each of them. That's the budgetary proposal. We would like to put it in. I think, Tony, we had talked about this. We would put it in as part of your department.
Well, we're going to get, Kate Bush is going to help us clarify how we should do that.
Okay, that's good. So that's on the angle of the budget. And then we know that there is time now, right? Because these funds are not going to be available until sometime next year. Now, until then, so we can do a lot of work. So we can start identifying locations. Okay, where do we install in town? What are the ideal locations? Maybe we can seek some feedback from people. What's the most useful way to do it? Some maybe for the departments themselves to use for the cars they would have for the employees, and some could be for public use elsewhere. So we will need to decide that. And then we need to engage with the EV installation companies and also start an RFP process. So that way we can get the best possible price. And then certainly we complete all the pre-work prior to 2024 budget becomes available, and then make use of government subsidies, etc. So that's those are all the things we want to do for charging infrastructure. But the key is really try to push through the budget process and get those funds approved.
Mohan, or Tony, or when you're looking at this, are you looking at this as workplace charging or public access charging? I have a reason to ask that question.
I think we start with workplace because we need to handle, if we're going to buy electric vehicles for the town, then we have to have a place to charge them, and then the second layer being for public.
Thank you. And have you spoken to a company called EnviroSpark?
No.
Through Live Green, EnviroSpark is doing free site assessments. So if you're at the place of looking at particular sites and what might make sense, they have 30 commitments from surrounding Fairfield County communities and businesses, but they're taking a few more. I learned this yesterday. So if you're at the place where figuring out whether they could provide some what they called them was site assessments, then maybe that is somebody else that could fine tune some of those places. Again, I'll get you that offline and you can see whether it makes any sense. But there's no charge to the town for them to assess our locations and our parking lots and things like that. What was important is that the program was based on workplace charging, which meant if it was just public charging, we wouldn't necessarily have the same priority. But if it's workplace charging, then they're another resource that we could consider. So
Sounds
I
good.
will forward you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you had more, right? Don't you have another page of this?
Yeah, we got more and more now. So I think then, sorry, I'll go to my sheet here. So, well, we can forget about this research and references. That's fine. This all talks about what we have done. Honestly, this should go to the next slide. Sorry. So now we put this together, the next steps, Tony and me working yesterday, because in terms of next steps, where do we want to go? Sorry. So in terms of next steps, I would like to start discussion with key town administration contacts. Kate Bush is one of them, Gentile, well, Ed's here anyway. Jeremy and Mike, who are going to be the director of planning and zoning and building department. Those are the key people who want to start having the conversations, and then go to police department, have a conversation with Chief Don Anderson. The one question we do have is for Board of Education. Do you have any contact, or do you know who should we be talking to? As far as, or is it Kate would know? That it was unclear to us. Tony, you're on mute.
I think probably Kevin Moret. He'd at least be a good start. He's the director of facilities.
Director.
Yeah.
I
don't know if he would be the final decision maker on this, but I think it would be a good start.
Okay.
I think we have to do a sort of joint get together with Kevin because we've talked to him about waste, and he would be a contact because he reports to the director of finance who oversees transportation, and it's kind of a weird org structure from what I understand, like who does what. But I just had a very unprompted preliminary conversation with a school board member who works on the facilities side who was interested in having a conversation. And he may have a peer or himself through facilities have interest in the vehicle thing if we get that conversation started. And I would like to pursue that and see if he could assist with their vehicle planning or not. But he definitely is the person related to facilities, and they're thinking big picture facilities, not waste and waste contracts. But when I discussed it with him, he's like, yeah, we should have a conversation about this. So
I just want that the importance, like if we're going to people where we have two agendas in the school, we have a lot of agenda there.
Right.
That we're not working against each other or
exactly
taking one piece but not another. It might be a broader question with them around what is their priority. Here are some of ours, and where do they getting on board and where do they see roadblocks?
I agree. The question is, we've not really been able to come up with any way to speak to sort of senior management. Cliff reached out and gave a whole kind of discussion about the waste and the facilities, and he never got any follow-up. So we've tried, kind of top down, and then we're thinking facilities manager or school board. It's not clear. I think a lot of these projects you find you have to have someone who's a champion, who's willing to take a little time. Yeah. And I don't know who those champions are or would be in the schools at this point.
So Kathy, I need to leave. Just to let me close this out so that we can pick this up. Again, I would say let's start to have these conversations with the low-hanging fruits, which we already know, Department
Yeah.
of Public Works and others. Then go to
Agreed.
the police chief, and then we'll figure out the Board of Education. Again, all this is saying is this lays out the plan, what all we want to get done, right? So get the budget approved. Who can help us with the location planning for charging stations? Maybe we need additional help. Location identification, complete by March. Basically, this gives you a timeline, say with the target of going live for charging stations by September 1st, 2024. That's what the tentative plan is. So, and then Cliff said, he said, can we just add sustainability advisory committee will assist during the project as needed? Yes, we are going to be standing by and provide any assistance we need to provide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this deck all back to you. There is a slide I need to clean up. This slide is busy. The last slide with the vehicles is kind of busy. I'm going to clean this up, send this back to you. And then if you have any additional amendments, please let me know, and then we'll go forward. So as next steps, the first thing, Tony, we need to start talking to Kate, Jeremy, and Mike. That's going to be our next step. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you all. Unfortunately, I need to leave for an important work meeting, so I gotta go. Okay. Nice seeing you after a
Bye,
while.
Mohan.
Thank you, Mohan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Excellent. That's the roadmap. Good work. Okay, so if we go backwards up that agenda just to wrap on the collaborating with the schools, I'm going to try to schedule a meeting with one of the Board of Ed members to get some guidance or gauge interest. It was Dennis Maroney, who I've known through our children went to school together, and we kind of a funny gathering, and he said he was absolutely interested. Would you, Carolyn, from the food point of view, be willing to meet with him with me if we were just going to sit down and have that sort of
Sure. Absolutely.
what are you thinking kind of thing, and ask him a few questions? I'd almost rather say, Amanda, that if there is an interest, to bring some parents in to express that interest, and that's where I think Amanda's value would be in a conversation with Board of Ed people. If we just go in first, then see if there's any interest, and if they do want to talk, I would probably ask for parent people to be participating too. And I was going at it from the food scraps, which leads me to the top one, which is there's still time for grant money. So time is running short, but if truly he thought there was an interest and there was anything we could do, we still might be able to get some matching funds from Sustainable CT to pilot some beginning of a waste separation, even if it's in one school. Does anybody think that's still realistic, or is it just a crazy?
I think Tokenique has always expressed interest. They could easily probably be a pilot school. I know the principal's interested in that concept.
Okay.
And I know in both Ox Ridge and Royal, there are parents who are interested because they are the two schools who purchased 6 or 10 kits respectively from us for Earth Day. Earth Day, they gave them out, or they, what's the word I'm looking for? They not auctioned them off. There was a drawing and people won kits. So I know that there were parents in those two schools who are also interested. So I think we can have some of that interest.
Okay.
Raffle, that's the word I was looking for.
Yes. So I will take the responsibility to reach out to Dennis. Amanda, would you be willing to just see if Tokenique, if we get someone to help us kind of support from the administrative side, would they be willing to entertain? And I think you have to apply for the grant money before the end of December, which I'm assuming would mean use in January of 2025. I can verify that, but is it possible to see if
Yes.
he was still interested?
Yes.
If we needed a sponsor for, and they match whatever we can gather, they match it like double. I think they were doubling.
Get some information on that funding, like a link or.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's through Sustainable CT. It's on their website.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yep. Happy to.
Okay. I have a the noise ordinance. Carolyn, you said that you've heard some because I've gathered Tony's feedback, I've gathered Mohan's feedback, I've gathered Cliff's feedback, I've gathered through Sustainable Fairfield County what other communities are doing, the pluses, the minuses, there are towns that are doing it, that are hitting roadblocks, but I now have between all of us sort of I think a usable document, but I'm not sure at this point if we missed the window. So what do you know is, the status of leaf blower ordinances or related, activity the town is going to take? Or did it just fall on its face after that meeting?
So I believe, so it's not really a leaf blower ordinance per se.
Correct.
I think it came under noise ordinance. And the matter the matter has been referred to the RTM and because it would require an ordinance, and the ordinances are worked on by the TGSNA subcommittee of the RTM. So that's like town governance, structure and administration is what I think the acronym stands for. And they happened to have a meeting last night. And the reason I know this is because my husband is on that committee. So he said that the issue of the noise ordinance did come up and they will be working on it. So we have the opportunity to work with them to let them know what is happening in other communities, and get our input in that way, because they will be the ones crafting the draft ordinance that will then go to the full RTM.
Okay, so finding an appropriate vehicle to take what we have kind of gathered. And I understand the difference between we're going to ban leaf blowers or we're going to do something to minimize the time that the noise exists in our community. And I know they're not different, but they overlap. The information overlaps. It's the noise
I think
piece.
the only community that's really committed to banning them is Norwalk. I don't know if where they stand on that right now. I know in Greenwich, Westport, and some of the other communities throughout Westchester County, it's been restrictions on use. And it varies, which makes it very difficult because it would be so much easier, I think, for these landscapers if there was some uniformity among the ordinances and what's been approved by the various towns, because what happens in Greenwich is different than what happens in Westport. And I think if we can get all of that information together and present it to members of the TGSNA committee, I think that could be really helpful.
And we certainly could do that with a little lead time, I think, because I've collected everything you all have done. Go ahead, Tony.
When Norwalk hasn't really committed to it, they just kind of kick the can down the road. It's like, we'll ban him in 2027, but in 2026, we'll look at this to see if it makes any sense. So that's just kind of like pushing this subject along. And I think in general, from what I've read and how I feel also is banning is, might be considered a little government overreach. And it's difficult to ban something I can buy, 2 miles away and then I can't use it. But from what I read, from the kind of current recommendations that are in front of the committees, seem pretty weak. It's like you can use your leaf blower or noise levels any day between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Well, I don't think any of us are complaining about leaf blowers at 10 p.m.
Right.
So, it doesn't make, to me, like, I think we have something to offer here. It seems like what's currently on the table is not really going to change much of anything.
I kind of had that sense from what I read too, Tony.
I think Greenwich's is a little bit more stringent in that I believe that they do actually ban the use of them during certain times of the year.
Yeah, during certain, yes.
Yeah. So, for example, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, maybe, they don't allow them, but they maybe allow electric blowers. I mean, it's been some time since I've looked at this, but that's wherein I think that, and this was a year or so ago, so it may have changed. I think that's wherein we really need to get all the information that's current. And this is something that New Canaan would really like to work with us on, because they are desperate they have people there who are residents who are desperate to get something there as well. So, maybe that's something we could collaborate on.
Yeah, I think Greenwich I don't think it's a ban during that time. I think it's one blower per 2-acre property. You can't have more than one going at a time.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at it.
I believe that was the same thing. I'm not sure either, but
I think that was the part I've been working on, which is collecting what each town is doing. It has also been discussed at the Sustainable Fairfield County.
Kathy, we can't hear you.
I don't know what's going on with my phone here. I'll sit still here. The Sustainable Fairfield County, at a couple of the recent meetings, towns have talked about it. Ridgefield has a website on this now, and they're going at it by, I think, a referendum. And their website has a lot of information that they've gathered. So between what I've gathered, what Tony has written to me, the health stuff that is beyond why it's a good thing to have a noise ordinance, the extra benefits beyond the noise comfort, we could go into the ordinance planning group and give them, with a little preparation, a very robust look at what other communities are doing. And that some are approaching it on health, some are approaching it on noise, some are banning by season, some are banning by hour, some are, fully saying they're going to ban the use of them at all. But, so I think we could very easily give them, and the contact information of the people who have done it in a number of neighboring communities. So I'm happy to work on that with whomever would be the right people in our town.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get the material all kind of put together, like if we have a spreadsheet or, a PowerPoint or whatever, that would be helpful.
You can look at it and show the people to say, how would they want us?
Send it on over. I'd be happy to take a look at it.
Fair enough. Okay, last thing, because we're running out of time, if there's nothing else with that, I have a question for Tony, and not to make more work for anybody, but there is another, I think it's through all the federal money. There's a project going on through CPACE and the Green Bank, which is looking at every school in Fairfield County and trying to figure out which schools have solar and which don't.
Say that again.
Which schools have what?
Which schools have solar panels on the roofs and which don't.
Okay.
And CPACE and the Green Bank have apparently set up a staff to do work to fund solar panels, and then the whole thing about where the electricity goes and all that stuff. And I sat through a presentation on it yesterday with people from Ridgefield that have apparently used this program now or are using it, and estimated a $4 million savings over 20 years on their schools. The document that was given to us shows that we have solar panels on Oxford, and I don't know if we have them on any other. Do you know the answer to that or not?
Yeah,
or is that actually?
We work with the Green Bank, and we have solar panels on Town Hall, the garage, and the police department.
Yes.
So in terms of schools, I wouldn't know, but we're pretty. I don't say we're full, but we have the main buildings that we operate have solar panels on them.
I know we've done that.
The high school has a few, and the old Ox Ridge building had solar panels. I don't know much about the new Ox Ridge building, but I would assume they have solar panels.
And the school work that's being postponed, would imagine. So again, this is free money to the town of Darien through the Green Bank, and it's been presented by the sustainability group in the town of Ridgefield on a yesterday, and so I have documentation on that.
If you want to send it,
That
I'll
was
look at
built.
it. But we work with the Green Bank. We have a solar panel, so I'm not sure how much there's opportunity there is for us, but I'll definitely.
No, not for it's. This is really focused on the school, so this would not be the town. This would be.
Yeah.
I know the town has done it, so the town has experience with it. This is apparently a brand new program where they've signed a brand new person whose full job is if you fill out 10 questions and they will go and find the funding for the solar, trying to write down. I didn't write down many notes, but the from the meeting yesterday. But I then got the document about the schools and every school, and they're trying to target it. So what's coming back to the Sustainable Fairfield County is, do you have any schools who'd be interested in this? Because we have a staff that's ready to do this and to go through the paperwork part.
So Kathy, last year when we were working on our sustainable CT application and we were benchmarking energy usage in the schools, I spoke with Kevin Munret's predecessor, and he told me that all the schools would be getting solar panels, but what it relates to is when their roofs are being redone. So as their roofs get redone, because it's usually like a 20-year commitment with the solar panels, so they don't want to put, and it's extremely expensive and very impractical to try to put a new roof on, to take the solar panels off, put the new roof on, and then put the solar panels back. Because they've looked at that actually, and it's not worth it. They looked at it at, I believe, Tokenique, and he said that it relates to when they put a new roof on. So as the roofs get replaced on the schools, that's when they will get solar panels. So it's kind of a timing thing that way.
Well, I understand that.
To our electric vehicle, as when it's time to replace,
Yep.
I do know that the renovation work at the schools that were postponed this year and were put off for a year at some of the elementary schools may already include this.
Yeah.
But what I see our role, correct me if I'm wrong, is to advise people in the community if funds have come along that would assist in, A, the installation, and B, reducing electricity over time. So again, maybe this gets to Kevin. If we're talking to Kevin about who works on your vehicles, this is sort of a broad conversation, vehicles, solar, waste, food waste, that we've kind of got a conversation with him that's big picture and see if any of the things are things that are at the top of their radar, and focus on the things they might really need help with, because it's not going to be all of them. So why don't we just try to see Kevin as well as Dennis? So Denny. Okay. All righty. Is there anything else? Amanda left, so we didn't get our minutes.
So we can't vote on the minutes. We'll have to save those for next time. Can I just say something about the food scrap program?
Absolutely, please do.
So it's almost 5 years to the day that we started our food scrap recycling program. And since the program started in mid-October 2018, we've diverted almost 200 tons of food from the waste stream, which sounds like a lot, and it's great. On an annual fiscal year basis, it's really hasn't changed that much over the years, though. I mean, it goes up and down a little, by a few tons per year. But I mean, basically, it's like in the low, just over 40 tons a year. And the needle hasn't really moved that much. We do things to try to increase interest and participation. I don't know at this point what more we can do. I think especially now that people's hauling costs for their household trash is going up. People have made comments to me that, they're paying for their trash to be removed. So why would they do this? It just hasn't really sunk in yet that this is, you got to kind of have to look at the long game, that maybe hauling costs would go up a little bit more slowly if they weren't hauling as much trash. So if you pull food out, I just think, we maybe, for this, I don't know, we were talking about the grant money that's available from Sustainable Sea to the Community Match Fund. If there's something that we could do from, like if we, I just think, we have to try to get people to understand why this is important, and whether they have a private hauler or no hauler, that it's what they should be doing. I've tried, but we're all of our social media is very, it's very segmented. I just don't know how else to reach people and to get people to want to participate. So that's all I really have to say. I mean, our numbers are good, but they could be better. It hasn't really increased that much in 5 years. So, our neighboring towns are doing it. We all it's in the towns where, we have private subscription for haulers. We all kind of have the same issue. So that's what I really wanted to say about that.
Thank you, Caroline. What I think I might be hearing you say is that if, in fact, we can't make like a food separating system in a school happen with grant money, might we be able to do an education campaign where we could get some grant money to have a particular type of education
But I'm not even sure if that would work, because so last year we included in the tax bill a flyer. It was we basically copied what Greenwich had done. And with every tax bill, there was a flyer that went out that explained about the program. And that didn't really yield any big results. So I don't know what will. I think from the people that I've talked to, the only thing that would really make a difference to them is if their hauler picks it up.
And I think that is a reality in our community, and that's one that we're not going to.
If their hauler picks it up, but by the same token, they're not willing to pay the extra $32 a month to have curbside pick it up. Though there are more people availing themselves of that service today than there was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, there were 2 or 3 people in Darien who were paying curbside compost. It's now I think it's in the low 30s. So and there are people who have also, so there may be some people who are participating who have, moved over to private pickup. And then there are people who, myself included, I put most of my food waste, I compost in my backyard because I want the compost. I do use the town program for the things that I don't put in my backyard compost, but most of my food, fruit and vegetable scraps, and go in my backyard compost. So I do think there are some people who have transitioned to that. So that could account for some reduction in what we've collected. So there could be more people, but some people are doing less than what they did before.
The other thing I think is there's been such a turnover in who lives here that I don't necessarily have confidence that information that went out before has reached. In my own neighborhood, the turnover is huge. So I believe that education and ongoing education is important, and that you have to invest in and reinvest in. Even any brand, your Tide detergent, you continue to advertise even though everybody knows what Tide is, because there's always things. So we have tried, you have tried, I've tried, we have worked on education, and I'm just wondering if we just see if there's any interest from the school, or if not, possibly request a small match that we could use for education, where we could pay for something that could be delivered, maybe in a different way or in a different form. I will end this meeting by telling you that Representative Greska, who's been very involved with the environmental and the food waste, the Public Act 23-170, spoke yesterday at Sustainable Fairfield County, saying that the way the law was written, it doesn't affect Southern Fairfield County towns where schools and institutions do not have to separate their food waste and take it to an anaerobic digester, but that he's hoping that in the legislation through Connecticut this coming year, that they will either expand pilot programs, which might allow places like us to get money to have haulers pick up food, or would incent towns to participate more. So this is going to happen through the state, little by little. He also said that there's a demand at the state level to get people to separate food and compost it or get it to the anaerobic digesters. You may already know this, but he said there were 5 permitted but are not built yet.
There were what?
5 permitted anaerobic digesters, even at this point, that aren't built yet.
Yeah.
So
But only one in existence.
One in
Only
existence,
one
which
in
is too
existence.
far from us. He did say that Stratford is building a transfer station for food, so that food can be taken to Stratford, not to Southington. And so as the infrastructure is, what I interpret is the infrastructure is being put in place so that it'll be easier to have a system to collect and use the food waste. So I think our best bet is to keep helping people understand that it's important, and that the infrastructure is going to evolve, where we're either going to be forced to, or it will be economically important enough to the town or to the schools or whatever to do it. So any suggestions from anybody who watches this that would like more information on food scraps, we're always willing to help.
Always.
Okay. I believe we've hit our 12:57, our max. Is there anything else we need to do today, except thank Tony for your presence and your guidance and your support?
Welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting will be adjourned. We motion to adjourn.